Previously on Dr. Fundi's Health Matters.
Where we were told, in fact we were educated, that we should no longer say gentlemen and ladies, because there are people who don't subscribe to the Bible. In the Western Cape, they phoned, asked Liezl to talk about this trending issue of ethical non-monogamy. She was so shocked by the request. She was not ready to deal with it. She passed it on to me.
Opposing any view, we would like to have a discussion and see where this takes us. So please raise your hand as we go along. Please bring case studies. Please bring your own experiences. We too would love to learn. We have become very, I don't know what's the word, Doc, intrigued. What are they bringing? You know, the open secrets, the closed secrets, the things that was never said, the things that were never asked, the things that were never communicated or talked about. What is it that I have not said to my partner? And what is it that I now, in my process, are either going to disclose or reveal or discuss? So a case study that one of my colleagues actually presented with, and that was during COVID, and he did online therapy with a couple. And it was their first session, and his frame of reference is solution-focused brief therapy, and he saw the client. Both of them had their own screens, although they were in the same house, and he asked them, you know, what is it that you want to get from the session? Why are you here? And the wife at that stage said, I want to save my marriage. I want us to work through things. It doesn't matter what it takes. We are confronted with each other on a daily basis. This is the best time. It was during lockdown, we're in each other's faces all the time. We might as well use the time to work through things. But remember, they're sitting in separate rooms. They're not even in the same room. And then he asked the husband, what is it that you aim to gain? What did he say?
He wants out.
I'm just here to tell her I'm out. And where do you go from there? So, what is it that is never said that now all of a sudden he needs to say? So, let's look at evolution. We were talking about evolutionary relationships. What is evolution? Evolution is really looking at gradual development over time. How do we change? How do relationships change over time? You know, evolutionary ideas have been present throughout history, but it's not the things that we necessarily talk about, but it's been there. So today is a revolutionary evolution we're talking. It's the process in which significant changes in the inheritable traits of a species occur over time. We've had a lot of different changes in relationships over time. We've shifted our minds about relationships. Today will also probably lead to some form of change in our thinking, or not. So it's the process that results in change. We've spoken about that. And it occurs wherever and whenever those three conditions are met. Reproduction, variation, and competition. Competition is, I think, known to everybody, isn't it? There's lots of competition out there. So then we're also confronted with commitment versus competition, because we have been socially constructed and our minds shifted to believe that commitment means one, over and above all others. So evolution is natural selection. I'm just going to leave it at that. How do we naturally select? So we look at our survival and we look at reproduction. That is evolutionary psychology. What is happening in my environment that might be causing me to need to survive or to need to reproduce. So everything I do is either about surviving a situation or about leaving a legacy. So we might face couples that have issues around infertility. How many of those marriages end up in divorce? Evolution. The need to reproduce, the need to co-create, the need to leave a legacy behind. So a lot of that, it starts perhaps with infidelity. Maybe somebody falls pregnant, or it starts with a conversation, I want offspring, I want an heir. Isn't it? So reproduction. Survival, I feel trapped in this relationship. I feel that I need to get out. I feel that you are holding me hostage. My survival is about getting out and meeting others. So we're not going to go into that, but it just gives a sense of how relationships change, evolve, shift. We're not going to go into that, but really looking at the last. Does it have a pointer? In the middle. So we're going to look at that one. So good genes and the sexual selection theory. Males who display indicators of high genetic qualities should have more sexual partners and more offspring. How many believe in that? Hey. So more symmetrical men should have more lifetime sexual partners and more extra pair sexual partners than should less symmetrical men, whatever less symmetrical mean. So, but it's about survival and it's about reproduction. What does that have to do with the divorce rate? We ask ourselves at the end of the day. So, we're going to read through that because I think it's important for us to look at that. Over history, people lived a very short life. We didn't reach 70. Our ancestors reached about 30, 45 at most. And there was no social construct called marriage. So they were not in a relationship with the same person for 50 or more years. So modern society, modern society adheres to the concept that marriage should be lifelong, isn't it? We till death do us part. And we're not having a religious discussion today, but that is what we're saying, isn't it? Till death do us part. And that's the fairy tale. Our daughters and our nieces and our sisters and everybody, till death do us part. Doc, you still there? I'm not there. So we look at the social constructs and we look at, social research that suggests that because we're living so long, most people will have 2 or 3 significant long relationships over the span of time. And some of those relationships do end in death and the person remarries, isn't it? But some of them don't. So to put it plainly, I was going to say in plain English, and then I just in plainly. Human beings haven't been able to fully adapt to our skyrocketing life expectation. Our biology and psychology is just not set up to be with one person for decades. Controversial, isn't it?
Cheers.
Very controversial. That's evolution. Okay, but we end up in relationship with all good intention. We're going to make it work, isn't it? We all say it. It's going to work. Second time around, it's going to work, isn't it? And so what if it doesn't? I'm still alive, living my best life. So accomplishing that requires, and I think, Doc, you mentioned, redefining who we are separately within the relationship and discovering new ways of being together as we change and grow. But how often do we discover new ways together as we change and grow? We do it separately, and that's where the shift happens. So it's important to remember too that just because someone is still married doesn't mean they're happy or that the relationship is.
That's a painful truth. Many are in the institution, but the pillows are wet almost every night.
And how many of us are not denialists, eh? Yes. Oh, living happily ever after. Happily ever after. That is fairy tale. And they lived happily ever after, isn't it? Cinderella. Should not be a yardstick by which we define a successful intimate relationship. This is an important consideration as we reform the concept of divorce. So we've spoken a lot about divorce. What does this have to do with divorce? And we spoke about evolution. Let's listen.
Biologically, sex is designed for one main purpose, procreation. Anything else, that's extra. The female reproductive cycle comes around once a month. For a man, it's every day. For each sexual act, the woman's one egg is matched by the man's 120 million sperm cells. Now let's do some calculation. 120 million sperm cells a day, every day, as opposed to one egg a month, every month, means, assuming all the cells are viable, that it will take only 30 men to impregnate all the women in the world. This points to one clear fact. A man is, by nature, polygamous. Monogamy and fidelity are unnatural situations promulgated by religious beliefs and social pressures. Take those away, every man will cheat. It's simply biological. Now let's look at the extra. It's a known fact that women, for the most part, are more emotional than men. So it's natural that after a sexual encounter, she'll be attached. But because a man is visual and logical in nature, there's no emotion involved. For him, it's just a physical release that's got nothing to do with love. A man loves his woman by protecting and providing for her. Period. It's really quite simple. For a man, the physical and the emotional, two separate entities. Thank you.
And she drops the mic.
Now we're getting into the juicy bits.
It would be nice to know how many people in this room actually share the perspective of that lady. She's saying things that may be a bit uncomfortable to many of us in this room, but do you think there's any truth or merit in terms of some of the things that she's saying?
Comments?
There's no child here. All of us are 18 and above, so we can talk about these things. Yeah?
You caught me off guard, doctor. But I like the part of emotional, that women are emotional beings. I don't know if I put it correct, of which I agree. There is this saying when talking about sexual intercourse between a man and a woman, they'll say, most men, they support the fact that, no, when you are not okay or you are angry with me, kill this part from the waist up, but waist down, let it be active. So I agree with that physically men, they want to satisfy their physical desire. But when coming to women, we are emotional beings. If there are things that are not going well in our marriage, in our relationship, it can be the kids or whatever, financial or whatever. I want to talk about that. And so that we resolve and communicate and we settle to that. Even if you don't agree with me, but just put me at ease. If you understand who I am as a woman, as a wife to you, so that you put my emotions at ease, so that when your physical desire will be also granted. But if my emotional one is not supported, ask is for you. Physically, I cannot, because if I'm not okay here, meaning it will be a marital rape.
Hi, boo.
Yes, amen.
Thank you.
It sounds like there's a condition that must be met before I can get my conjugal rights.
conjugal rights, Doc. Are there such a thing as conjugal rights?
Yeah.
So, this is how we view our relationships, isn't it? We look at traditional heteronormative male and female, but we all know that there are more than that already, you know? And then what do we say? When we find ourselves here in a heteronormative relationship, all of those is weird, isn't it? All that other weird stuff. You know, I don't understand. Why do people engage in that? Why do people do that? Today we're talking about all the weird stuff. All the other weird stuff. So, anybody want to venture about the weird stuff? Anybody?
I think before somebody says anything, Liezl talked about the evolution of relationships. Now, earlier, when I was greeting you guys, I talked about the fact that not everybody is subscribed to the binary view. So we talk about LGBTQIA nowadays, and there's rights that are enshrined in our constitution for all of those people and the choices they've made, those who've made choices, others is biological and whatever. So in that situation, the kind of problems that they're going to bring to you as a counselor in your rooms are going to be very different to the kind of problems that were brought 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You know, there's guys who got married and they've got a wife, you know, or, you know, vice versa, you know. But then somebody gets to be aware of the other interests. Let's say a guy is bisexual, you know, married, but then there's also this other area of who they are that they realize is also important. And so how you solve them or how you help them solve their issues is definitely not going to be using what you were taught from a heteronormative kind of relationships. You know? Obviously, assuming that you as a counselor, you're not going to judge them. You know? Anyway, over to you, Liezl.
But how many times do we judge? What is infidelity? Says who? What is infidelity? I'm questioning.
You're asking a lot of questions that side. These people this side, they need to also be active.
Oh, sorry, yes. Doc. I do apologize for this side of the room. What is infidelity?
Aibu.
Anybody?
We're getting somewhere, guys.
Good afternoon, colleagues. In my understanding, without looking at the dictionary, infidelity is when you are having a relationship and extramarital relationships. Yes.
So if you're having relationships, why is that infidelity?
Sorry, I don't want to answer that question. I just want to make a comment or seek the answers from the audience. Would being in an open marriage, we talk about the weird stuff. So would being in an open marriage fall under the category of infidelity? Because most of the time in my experience with some of the conversations I've had with some people, they've actually indicated that they were not okay with that, but just to save the marriage or to stay in that marriage, they went along with it. So I'd like to ask that question maybe to my colleagues here. Being in an open marriage, would that qualify as infidelity?
Because there's consent there. That you can go and explore outside. So can it still be called infidelity if there's consent?
informed consent or coerced consent? There's a lot of discussion happening now. Anybody else want to venture?
Can anyone answer that important question that came through from the back? Can you call something infidelity if there was consent that you can go and explore? Each of us can explore. It was not something that was done behind the scenes. It's stuff that was agreed to by the other partner.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I think the colleagues here already answered that. It is an arrangement. You both agreed that you're going to go outside, explore, and then come back. You can also go outside and get all those nasty things outside and bring them back home.
Nasty things? Like what? What if you're using protection? Oh, you're talking about spiritual
that
ties.
If you
Doc, the two ladies were just judging me.
Okay.
Yes, with a look.
Thank you so much. One, I don't think we will get the right answer here. But maybe we can have an agreement. Because one, the infidelity part comes from the unfaithfulness from your spouse, right? So now the question would be, there is arrangement. So no one is unfaithful there because we have agreed that because of A, B, and C, you can go. So it becomes unfaithful when you do it without a consent. So I think that answers suffice all the views around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're getting into the discussion. We're not going to have
We're
enough.
just warming up, guys.
We're not going to have enough
We're
time.
getting to the stuff that's going to make you a bit uncomfortable, but it's important for us to talk about.
We're not going to have enough time. Not today.
Yeah.
A social construct. Everything that we say, marriage, shoe, car, vehicle, relationship, social construct. It's language. Why is marriage not divorce? Why is divorce not marriage? Social constructs that we attach value to. Infidelity is a social construct to start off, end all and be all, but it's the value that we attach to it. So, unfaithful, that's where we come in with commitment, the commitment to one and one only. And yes, it's the action of being unfaithful or the state of being unfaithful. We also call it cheating. Social construct. We could call it love. So ultimately, it's just a word. It's a word that we attach a value to and an emotion to. So it's a word with emotion. If we say somebody is cheating on me, do we say it with a smile?
No.
So we've attached value to it, an emotion, isn't it?
Yes.
So let's start thinking about what other words do we attach certain types of emotion to? How do we help our clients with the emotional attachment to words and actions of others? Because it's another person's imposed action. So it's also called unethical or unconsensual non-monogamy. We're changing the words. Different types of infidelity, not a very good picture. Physical infidelity, emotional infidelity, cyber infidelity.
Inbox.
We will go through all of them. The inbox, yes, Doc.
Yes. Hey, they are harassing those
Financial
people.
infidelity. I'm not telling my spouse how much money I have. I'm stashing away money. I'm not telling them the debt. Micro-cheating, a term for actions that bother partners, such as flirting, no intention of straying though. Micro-cheating. Combined infidelity, when the infidelity includes more than one type. Cyber, how many inboxes are you getting? How many pictures are you sharing? So, and don't we get a lot of clients that come into our rooms, and the main concern is the pictures that she shared with him, and she doesn't even want to put the light on. Isn't it? So, infidelity. We know that 15% of married women are more likely than married men to have emotional affairs. Married men are more likely to have cyber or physical infidelity. We will call it infidelity for now. Let's actually call it unethical non-monogamy. In a survey about unethical non-monogamy, 22.1% said that they cheated without revealing. 24% cheated and admitted. 76% admitted that their previous affair that they admitted to their partner. 88.8% of couples say it's a major factor in getting a divorce. So we spoke about divorce. What has divorce got to do with it? So we also see that when people were interviewed after unethical non-monogamy, because there was no consent, 54.5% said we broke up immediately. And we see so many of those clients in our rooms, don't we? I'm not going back. Because how can he or she do that to me? It wasn't done to you. It was a choice they made in the moment. Nothing to do with you. 15.6% said we are still together. 30% said we tried to stay together but broke up eventually. And we see that. Unethical non-monogamy is not about the person who ends up in your room. It's about the person who chose different. And that's where the options and the solutions lie. Maybe that person needs to explore. So what is ethical non-monogamy? Ethical non-monogamy can be an umbrella term that refers to polyamory, relationship anarchy, friends with benefits, FWBs, swinging, random hookups, stranger sex.
Liezl?
Stranger danger.
Yeah, I saw somebody sing swinging, and they were doing this. I think you need to explain swinging.
Yes. So swinging is this. You go from the one to the other, to the other, to the other. But we will talk about it. We will talk about
Lots of that in Johannesburg. A lot of swinging clubs in Johannesburg.
So the question was asked, is it cheating? What is ethical non-monogamy? It's a relationship between two people. Monogamy between two people, we know that. While ethical non-monogamy is an arrangement where consenting adults, we spoke about that, have multiple connections. This could be any form of relationship. There we go. Is this the right place for me? Is this the right place for me? So we have monogamy, two people in a relationship, only one partner, no other connections or encounters. When does it become unethical? We spoke about unethical non-monogamy. So that's the things around abuse, cheating. Where do I draw my line? You know? What's ethical? Things every partner consents to. So consent and ethics are the big words. It is any relationship where partners consent to sexual and romantic connections with multiple people. Primary goal is to form a strong, yes, operative word, sexual or emotional connection with more than one person.
On
Know
next
your
week's
worth.
episode of Dr.
You know,
Fundi's Health
these are
Matters.
the people who, will not accept anything less than what they think they deserve in relationships, in anything. They are independent. They can't be seen accepting
gifts from men and whatever. Yeah, there's a group of people like that in social media. We call them know your worth. In fact, that's how they call themselves.
Yes, operative word. Sexual or emotional connection with more than one person. And sometimes people share partners. That's swinging. That's swinging. And they keep the various relationships separate. Let's look at that.